Right, good evening. Thank you for joining us for this Year 8 Parent Care Information Evening on options. My name is Mr. Roberts. I'm one of the Deputy Head Teachers at the school, responsible for the quality of education. We're very sorry we couldn't have you in school this week. Unfortunately, COVID being the way it is, we decided that probably the safest thing to do was to do this online, as we did last year. Not ideal, of course, but we're hoping between this Q&A session and the video that was put out around yesterday via email, hopefully you should receive all the information you should need. So the point of this session really, hopefully some of you have managed to watch the pre-recorded briefing that we sent around yesterday. If not to worry at all, we'll go through everything tonight as well. But it's really just if you've got questions or things you want to ask about, even if they're fairly specific to what your child needs, then by all means, feel free. There's the chat box available that you can just type a question into there. We'll try and answer as many of them as we can. There may be the odd point where we struggle to sort of keep up, or sort of if there's a lot coming in at once, you may just have to be a little bit patient as we answer them. But hopefully we should be able to answer any questions that you may have. So options is a very exciting time in a pupil's career where they start to think about what they're going to study at GCSE and beyond. At Woodlands School, we're very proud over the last few years, we've completely revamped our curriculum. We now have a wide range of options available for all pupils, and we have probably the widest selection of options available in the local area. So I'm going to talk you through some of those tonight and how the process works. I'll explain the pathway system and what that means, and I'll also explain over the next few weeks what support's available for your child and what the process really is over those few weeks before they give in their final options. So to begin, probably most of you are aware, but just in case you're not, the GCSE grading system changed a few years ago now. Now, we're all probably used to the A star to F or G grades back when we were at school. However, that has moved on now. The Department for Education have brought in a new grading system that goes from 1 to 9. Now, what that means is 1 is the lowest possible grade at the moment, and 9 is the highest. What we used to call the traditional pass grade, like a C grade in old language, if you like, is now a 4. That's called a standard pass, and a strong pass is known as a 5. So that's the new grading system. If you want me to answer more on that, I can later on. The other change that happened to GCSEs over the last few years is a lot more of the courses are now 100% assessed by exam. So there's not as much coursework as there used to be. We do still offer some qualifications that do have coursework and controlled assessment elements, but the majority of GCSEs now expect pupils to take exams at the end of the course in Year 11. So at Woodlands School, we offer 2 types of qualification at Year 9 and beyond. So we have GCSEs, which everyone will be familiar with, and we have level 2 qualifications. And these are qualifications that are GCSE equivalent. They tend to be more vocational, technical or creative subjects, and we'll talk about them as well. So what do we want for our pupils? Now, on our website, we have our curriculum intent, which talks about Arrow. Now, obviously, I'm hoping you'd be quite aware of our school vision, which is Arrow. It's aspiration, resilience, opportunity, and excellence. And that runs through everything we do, and that includes the curriculum. So aspirational, we do want our pupils to be aiming for those high level employment, high level apprenticeships, universities, including those top Russell Group universities. But likewise, if there's other aspirations they have, whether it's working in London, whether it's working in a professional capability elsewhere, we want to encourage that as much as possible. We also want to make sure our curriculum provides the vital life skills our pupils need. It's not just about, learning from what we learn in books and what we learn in the traditional academic subjects. It's those all important life skills as well. And making sure that our pupils have a lifelong love of learning. Resilience is very important. School should be a place where you fail. That's the point of school. You're in a safe environment where children can learn from their mistakes, can learn to dust themselves off, pick themselves up, and overcome obstacles. So yes, of course, in our curriculum, we want it to be challenging. We want pupils to have those experiences where they may struggle with things at first. They may struggle with those challenges, so that later in life, whatever's thrown at them, they can cope with that as well. But we also want our pupils to take as many opportunities as possible. So we want them to be highly literate and we want them to be highly numerate. Okay, those 2 skills are essential for modern life. They're essential for taking the next steps in their educational careers. But also important is oracy, how well our pupils can communicate, how they can talk to different groups of people in different contexts. That is one of the most desirable qualities that employers look for. So within our curriculum, we also promote making sure pupils are confident with talking and have those opportunities to learn to speak confidently in front of adults. And of course, we want to take pupils out of their comfort zone. We do want to make sure that they're studying subjects with a strong academic core. We also want them to challenge themselves. There are new subjects in this options process that your child will have never studied before. They are exciting. They might not be for everyone, but we certainly want pupils to be open to the idea of taking on new challenges and new subjects. And as I say, ultimately, our job has three really important jobs. One is to make sure that our pupils are safe and happy, and of course that's our top priority. Another of our aims is obviously to make sure that they develop to be well-rounded, decent people. And the other one is, of course, that we do want them to get good exam results. It's not all about exams; those other two things are important as well. But we live in we live in the real world. We know that pupils will need good exam results to make it to get on in life, to get onto those courses post-16, to get to university, to get those jobs. And our curriculum is based around that, making sure all of our pupils have the best possible opportunity to attain good exam results. And we want pupils to be experts in their subjects by the time they leave us. We want them to develop a range of skills related to their subjects so that when they do go on to, whether it be A-level study or apprenticeships or BTECs, they're ready to take that next stage in their curriculum. So we have revamped the curriculum in the last few years. The reason we've done that, we want it to be more inclusive for all of our pupils. So regardless of our pupils' ability, regardless of any special educational needs or disabilities, we want all pupils to be able to access the full curriculum. And we're very proud of the fact that all pupils have an opportunity to study the subjects they want to pursue. We won't tell them subjects that they absolutely can't do. We won't say that, well, might not be quite right for you. We will, of course, give them advice, but all subjects are open for discussion for pupils to possibly pursue if they're really passionate about it. We have developed a curriculum that's broad and balanced. And an important thing to remember at GCSE is that you don't need to go specialise too much at this point. Lots of people do sort of think sometimes, well, do I need to be thinking about my future career? Yes, of course, that's important. But that's more important when you get to A-level and apprenticeships when pupils are 16. At the age in year 8 and going into year 9, all we want pupils to really focus on is, have they got a broad range of subjects? Are they doing learning a range of different skills that shows that they can be talented in a number of different areas? We do want to make sure that the right pupils are on the right courses, which is why most of our pupils will study the EBAC, which I'll explain in a minute. But if some of our pupils do need more support, and we feel like they might need extra support in those two key subjects, maths and English, then of course we're going to provide that. We know that those two subjects are the key to opening doors to further qualifications, and we know how important they are in everyday life. So of course, if our pupils need extra support in those areas, we will provide it for them. We're also very proud of our Arrow curriculum that we've developed this year. This used to be called PSHRE, which covers things like personal, social, health and education, as well as religious education. That's been developed this year. And what we're really proud of about that is the amount of life skills that we've managed to incorporate into those lessons. So pupils will learn about how do you go about buying a car? How do you travel on the London Underground? What's the process for buying a house? How is having a mortgage different to renting a property? These are things that our pupils have said they want to learn, and you'll notice over the next few years, we'll be incorporating more of that into their curriculum as well, and that will be part of the core curriculum. So I'll briefly go through now how the options process works. If people want to start asking questions in a few minutes, that's absolutely fine, but I'll just give you a rundown of how that works. So first of all, pathways. We have two pathways in year 9 that our pupils can pursue on. We have the red pathway and the blue pathway. How the pupils are decided what pathway they're on comes down to several factors. One is their Key Stage 2 scores. So although pupils didn't sit their Key Stage 2 SATs in year 6 due to the pandemic, we did assess them when they joined us in year 7. They sat SATs papers with us and they were marked in the same way. And those scores do inform what pathway that they may eventually end up on. We also look at their current progress in certain subjects and what their teachers predict, the progress they predict they can make by the end of year 11. So we take that all into account as well. We also get advice from our aspirations faculty, so that's our SEND department, to see what they would recommend as well. And we do also look at pastoral information. So that includes engagement in learning. Are pupils engaged in that lesson? If a pupil's picked a certain option, we will ask their teachers, well, do they engage in that subject? Do they work hard? Of course, we're not going to limit our pupils purely based on behaviour, and we would never put them on a pathway solely based on behaviour. But it is an important aspect to think about. Are they invested in the course? Okay, is it something that they genuinely want to pursue? So if I talk you through the red pathway first, the red pathway is our main pathway. So the majority of pupils will be on this, and it follows what we call the English Baccalaureate. This is the group of subjects that the government have recommended that most pupils should study to get a broad range of subjects in their curriculum. So this includes maths, English language and literature, combined science, one modern foreign language, and one humanities. So that's either history or geography. So pupils on the red pathway will study all of those subjects as well as 2 additional options that they can select. How they'll go about that is we will send out on Monday, you will be informed what pathway your child is on. You will get a link to an online form. You don't have to fill it in straight away. You've got several weeks to have a think about that. And they fill out that form telling us the 2 options they'd like to pick and the 2 reserve options they'd like to select as well. It isn't always possible, whether it be due to timetabling constraints or other reasons, it's not always possible for pupils to get their top 2 choices. Most of the time, we do manage that, and we have a very high success rate with that. But unfortunately, that's not always the case. Sometimes a course isn't popular enough and it can't run. Sometimes a course is too popular and we have to limit the numbers. So whilst we will always try and give pupils their first 2 choices, it's not always possible. So that's the red pathway. The other pathway that we have in year 9 is the blue pathway. And the purpose of the blue pathway is to support our pupils with special educational needs or disabilities. They do study a very similar core curriculum to the red pathway. So they'll also study maths, they'll also study English, science, they'll study Arrow, which is, as I said, is our PSHRE curriculum, and they'll study core PE as well. Where it'll be different is that pupils will study an additional hour of Arrow on the blue pathway, so an additional hour learning in some of those key skills. They'll also pick up an ICT qualification, as we know how important it is for our pupils to be IT literate in the modern world by the time they leave us. And they'll also do a qualification called ASDAN. This is a qualification focused around employability skills and life skills. So those are the slight changes. So the blue pathway, they won't study humanities, history or geography. They won't study a language, but instead they will pick up ICT and they'll pick up the ASDAN course for life and employability skills. And likewise, they will receive, or you will receive rather, an email on Monday informing you whether your child's on the blue pathway, and you'll be sent a form to complete with their options. So the options that we have available, whether you're on the red or the blue pathway, you will be able to pick 2 options, and we call them free options because you can pick any 2 subjects you want. There are a few constraints and limitations that I'll go into specifics in a minute, but by and large, you can pick any of these 2 subjects. So the subjects we have are GCSE Art, Craft and Design, GCSE Drama, GCSE Film Studies. We have Level 2 Constructing the Built Environment, which is a sort of a construction course. We have the Level 2 Creative iMedia in IT, that's our ICT course. We have Level 2 Designing the Built Environment, and that's more like an architecture course. That's more about technical drawing and planning for architecture. We have Hair and Beauty, Health and Social Care, Hospitality and Catering, so that's food tech and sort of that sort of thing, food and nutrition. We have 2 music qualifications. We have music performance for those people that would like to focus on performing with a certain instrument or with vocals, and we have music technology for those pupils that are interested in recording music and the process of running a recording studio. We also have retail business. which is a subject which focuses on how to, the retail industry, essentially, how to run a store. We have sports studies, which focuses on, it's a bit like PE, but it also focuses on the psychology of sport, the business of sport, the media of sport. Of course, we have some other more traditional subjects as well. So we have business studies, we have citizenship, which gives you information about politics and government. We have philosophy, religion and ethics, PE, we have psychology, and we have sociology. Now, don't worry, you don't have to remember all of that. We are going to be providing an options booklet. This will be sent to you in a digital format on Monday. We'll also send a hard copy home with pupils. So that contains all the information on all the subjects we offer, what the exam percentage is, how much of coursework's in the subject, what careers can it lead to. So wait till Monday to pick up that booklet, and you'll have plenty more information there. I'll just take a couple of questions at this point, just because they're starting to come in. So it says, is there any way we can speak to teachers on courses that the children are interested in? My child is interested in psychology, but I have no idea what career path that will lead to. Well, there's a few avenues of support there. So the first one, in the first instance, I would recommend when you get that booklet on Monday, have a read of the psychology page. It will outline what the course involves. It will also outline possible careers. The teachers that deliver those subjects will be happy to speak to you. The teacher in that case is Miss Gleed. All of our all of our email addresses are on the school website, so you can get our emails from there. So that's Miss Gleed, and pupils can also ask in school as well. If they say, "Oh, can you give me your email, please, Miss or Sir, so my mum or dad can email you?" That's absolutely fine. The other bit of support pupils will get over the next 2 weeks. They will have options assemblies every day. So that the teacher that delivers that course will go into an assembly, will be remote, will be online, and will explain what the course involves, what careers it can lead to. So they'll get more information there as well. Furthermore, we also run taster sessions. So at lunchtimes, if there's any subjects that pupils aren't used to or haven't studied before, teachers will run practice lessons or taster lessons during lunchtime, so they get a feel for what those lessons are like. And we would recommend pupils attend as many of those as possible. So there's quite a few different avenues of support, particularly for the children in school. If you would like to speak to a member of staff about it, then by all means feel free to email us. We've also been asked, is there any way pupils can do history and geography? The answer is we have done that on very rare occasions. The reason we don't really get pupils to do both, and most schools don't, is because they're both very demanding. There's a lot of content in both of those courses, and with history in particular, in combination with English and other subjects, because it's an essay subject, it's a lot of writing. It's a quite demanding exam period. We have looked at it before. It does mean, though, if pupils take history and geography, it would limit the amount of extra options they could take. So we can possibly look into it, but it's not always possible to achieve that. And if I'm being honest with you, we wouldn't particularly recommend it unless the pupil excelled in both. We're looking for those top grades and we're desperate to do both. You're much more likely to be academically successful if you choose one of those subjects. But it's something we would certainly be willing to discuss. Do pupils get any qualification from studying Arrow, or is it just life skills they learn? I'll talk about that before I go on to the bit about IT. Arrow, there is no qualification from Arrow. It is part of the national curriculum. We have to deliver it. The government have said that these are the skills that pupils need to leave school with. So whilst there isn't a qualification, obviously the life skills pupils pick up are very valuable. It is things like, how do I read my pay slip? How do I go and buy a car? Things like, how do I apply for college and for sixth form? So whilst it's not a qualification in itself, it obviously has a lot of value, particularly in year 11, when pupils are having to start to apply for college or sixth form or apprenticeships. We use that Arrow lesson to make sure that they've gained those placements. So it's pretty vital with making sure that they've got somewhere to go when they finish year 11. In terms of the IT there, we've also asked, what IT skills will they learn? Is it just basics from using the computer for doing their work online? Well, at Key Stage 3, so in years 7 and 8, we have taught pupils the basics of IT. The Creative Eye Media course in years 9, 10, 11 focuses more on using software to develop things like videos and sort of like almost like the creative side of IT. So by the end of year 8, people should be quite astute with the basic IT skills. Creative Eye Media takes them on to the next level. Do the children have to do a language? Well, this is something I was going to go on to, and I'll explain it a little bit now. Yes, pupils do need to do a language in year 9 if they are in the, if they are on the red pathway, because they do the EBAC curriculum. So they have to do one language, and it will be the language they've studied in year 8, and they have to do either history or geography. Now, I'll quickly mention something now at this point called the purple pathway. The purple pathway comes into effect in year 10. So in year 9, you can be on the red or blue pathway. In year 10, the option becomes open for pupils to join the purple pathway. And on that pathway, what we do is we have a look at pupils' data in year 9. We have a look at how they're doing in maths, English, their language, and in their humanities subject. And we may make a decision to advise that pupils should drop either their language or history or geography in order to pick up extra hours in maths and English. So if you drop languages at the end of year 9, that means you pick up 3 hours where you would do extra maths and English. And we would decide whether you do 2 hours of maths and 1 hour of English or vice versa. However, the school makes that decision. We will give that recommendation. We don't sort of take requests from parents or pupils that I would like to drop this or that subject. We will recommend and say, we think it would be in the pupil's best interest to maybe pick up some extra maths and English and drop one of these subjects, and we make that recommendation. It is, however, a recommendation. If you or your child decide, I don't want to drop history or I don't want to drop my language, then that's absolutely fine. You are more than welcome to pursue it until the end of the course. The reason that purple pathway exists is because we recognise that some pupils, they are concerned about their maths and English grades. They do want to make sure they get the best possible grades in those 2 key subjects. So if they want the extra support, we will provide it for them. And the teachers that teach the purple pathway maths and English lessons tend to be some of our more senior experienced members of staff to make sure they're getting that extra support. We've got another one here. Will SEN pupils be given support from the SEN department in making these choices? Is there any way that a pupil on the blue pathway can study history? First of all, yeah, the aspirations faculty, our SEN department, will absolutely be supporting those pupils who are on the blue pathway make those options decisions. We will also be around, myself, form tutors, and the teachers that deliver those subjects will be giving plenty of advice to pupils on what subjects may be appropriate. Unfortunately, history isn't available on the blue pathway due to the timetabling constraints. We also tend to find, because pupils that perhaps have been on a slightly different curriculum, if they have got special educational needs, they may have been on a slightly different curriculum during years 7 and 8, which means they won't have studied as much history as most pupils starting the course in year 9. So unfortunately, it's not open to pupils on the blue pathway. But of course, we do give plenty of advice to families who have children with special educational needs. And there are other humanities courses, so similar to history, that are available as free options. So philosophy, for example, is a similar subject to history, covering similar sort of content, as well as citizenship as well. So we can have those discussions with people. But likewise, if you would like to speak to someone directly from the aspirations faculty, I would recommend emailing Mrs. Tuner, who is our assistant head teacher with responsibility for aspirations. And her email is htu@woodlandsschool.essex.sch.uk. So that's htu, and she'll be able to give more advice there. And then we've got another question here. Can my child change the language on their pathway from what they've been studying for the last 2 years? We strongly advise that pupils don't do that. And we haven't actually had one pupil do that for many years now. The reason being that it's very hard to catch up the progress, particularly in a language. The chances of passing a language at GCSE after not having studied it and everyone else in the class being 2 years ahead of you is quite slim, unfortunately. So we would strongly recommend that people stick on the language that they have been studying for the last 2 years, because otherwise we just don't think it's fair on them. And the chance of getting a pass grade are quite slim. Having said that, obviously, some of our pupils who may perhaps aren't passionate about the language that they are studying and do require extra help in maths and English, sometimes they do drop it at the end of year 9 anyway. But yeah, we don't tend to let pupils do other languages that they haven't studied before. I've got here, there is no advanced IT option, given that that's what a lot of industries are looking for. Things like building databases and advanced Excel to create spreadsheets if they're not interested in the media. The Creative by Media course, okay, is a level 2 qualification that actually holds the same sort of status as a lot of the other ICT courses out there. And in studying that course, pupils would be able to go on to post-16 courses that are related to IT. I don't want you to be too fooled by the Creative by Media sort of like title. Yeah, there is a lot of creative stuff in there, but pupils do pick up a lot of the technical skills that you require as well. So it's not the case that it's all artistic. There is still the technical acumen, and it is a recognised course. And we've had pupils study Creative by Media and then go on to do courses at college to do with IT. At the moment, we haven't got computer science as an option for this year group. This is purely because of timetabling constraints at the moment. And we tend to find that our pupils flourish a lot better on the Creative by Media course than computer science, if we're being honest. So as a pathway to get on to post-16 and to do something in IT, we tend to find Creative by Media is the best option for our pupils in terms of academic success. What options are available for my child to do triple science? Yeah, that's a good question. So basically, pupils on the red pathway, they will study combined science in year 9. The science department will make a decision in year 10 for those pupils that can then go on to do triple science. That means that they will get an individual grade in physics, chemistry, and biology. The combined science course, which most pupils will get to, you get 2 GCSEs in science for that, and it's based on learning all 3 of those different sciences. The triple science course, if pupils do want to do it, it does mean doing an extra hour after school so we can fit it on the timetable, but that decision is made in year 10, and that's made by the science department. Of course, you're more than welcome to contact them and say that that's something I'd like my child to pursue, and they'll give you advice on that. But yeah, so triple science is very much an option available. You just don't have to select it at this point in your options. Whilst we wait, because I'm sure more questions may come through, I'll just talk through how the curriculum looks in year 9. So obviously in year 8 they're doing a broad range of subjects. That does get scaled down as they pick their options. So pupils will do 4 hours of maths and 4 hours of English in year 9, 4 hours of science. They'll do 2 hours of core PE, so they'll still have 2 hours of PE, and they'll do 1 hour of arrow, so those life skills, unless you're in the blue pathway, in which case you do 2. They would do the pupils on the red pathway. If you in geography or history, whichever one you pick, you will do 3 hours of that subject. The reason you do 3 hours is because there is such a lot of content in those 2 subjects that pupils require the extra hour to get through it all. Same with the language that pupils take. Pupils will, on the red pathways will have 3 hours of their language, and this is to make sure that they have sufficient time on the timetable to get through the content of the course. The options that pupils pick, so whether it's sports studies or health and social care or philosophy or whatever they decide to do, they will do 2 hours of each of those subjects. So they'll do 2 hours. On the blue pathway, pupils will do 3 hours of ASDAN. So that's the extra life skills that pupils, and employability skills that pupils complete. And then the 2 options that they get to pick, and again, they can pick any options they wish as well. They'd be 2 hours as well. And then they do 2 hours of that ICT course. Is a level 2, I've got a question here, is a level 2 the equivalent of a GCSE? Are they recognised by colleges and universities? Yes. They are absolutely an equivalent. They're worth the same. Universities would see them in the same way. Level 3 qualifications would be the equivalent of A levels. So your child may go on at the end of school to go to doing 4 A levels. They may go on to do a level 3 qualification on a certain course, and they are recognised by universities. The only thing I would advise is that certain universities, particularly the Russell Group universities, they may have a preference for traditional GCSE subjects and A levels. That's not to say that they won't accept pupils that have done level 2 qualifications or level 3 qualifications at college and sixth form. They will accept them, but some universities, and I do stress it is only some, may say, well, we would rather they had the traditional academic route. So it's worth bearing in mind. It's a long way off yet, but it is something to consider. So how do we find out what kind of pathway the children are on? And also, do you have a list of the subject options they can choose from? So you will find out what pathway your child is on Monday. This will be sent out to you. As part of that email, you'll get a link to the options form. The options form will contain all of the options you can choose from. You will also get a digital version of an options booklet, and this is a booklet that goes into detail with every single subject, what's involved in that subject and what have you. So you get plenty of information, and that will be sent to you in that email, as well as a hard copy will be sent home with pupils. So you'll have loads of information on all the options available with you by Monday. We've got, if my son wanted to do a coding course, what subject will that cover, as he wanted to take computer science? Well, I mean, we're perfectly candid about it. If there was sufficient support for pupils to do computer science, we would, of course, take that into account. We will listen to our parents, our carers, and our pupils about the subject they want to do. At the moment, due to sort of timetable constraints, it may be difficult to timetable computer science, but if the demand is there, then we will try and adapt to that demand. So what I would recommend, you can email me directly about that. So my email is ERO, that's ERO, at woodlandsschool.essex.sch.uk, and just say, look, my son or daughter is interested in computer science, and if there is enough sort of demand for it, then we will try and offer that subject. But as it stands, unless we have big numbers, we wouldn't be able to. My advice would be, if they're interested in coding, to do the IT course we do have available, and then there are other courses free online as well that you can do outside of school to support with coding. But I do appreciate some pupils may want to do that subject, so please do get in touch if that's the case. Is it a first come, first serve on the application process? No. And actually, I would be more concerned if people get their options forms back to me very quickly, because we have so much on offer over the next few weeks. We have the booklets that are going to be sent home. We have all of these assemblies that teachers will deliver. We have all these taster sessions going on. We want our pupils to go to as many of them as possible and think carefully about this choice. This is a subject they're going to have to study for 3 years, and it is going to be a qualification they carry with them for the rest of their lives. So it's really important they make the right decision. So absolutely not. It won't be on a first come, first serve basis. Take your time with the subjects. What we if it did come down to having to decide which pupils can do a subject and which can't, and by the way, last year that wasn't the case for anyone. We managed to get every pupil their choice. But if that did happen, we were much more likely to look at their progress at the moment in certain subjects, their attitude to learning in school, and things like that. So it's how hard pupils are working and are they showing the right attitude. That would be how we would make our decision. So, you know, not a first come, first serve at all. And as I say, last year, every child, bar one, I believe, managed to do their first choices. I will mention at this point, there are certain subjects, business studies, citizenship, philosophy, religion and ethics, PE, psychology and sociology, because they are more challenging subjects. We do ask that pupils that selected them, they do take a short options assessment. It's nothing to worry about. It's just a very short assessment to see if they can cope with the demands of the course, and we'll advise the results of those assessments. And that's just to check if it is going to be appropriate, if they are going to be able to meet those academic demands. But yeah, we can talk more in detail about that towards the end of this presentation as I go through the timeline. But yeah, certain subjects do have options assessments just to check they're suitable. If our child ends up on the blue pathway, is this something that can be discussed? Yes. Everything with options can be discussed. Okay, we're not going to dictate exactly what's going to happen. We may give strong advice about what we think is best for a child, and we may want to bring you into school even to have a chat about it and sort of talk through all the different options. But we are not going to go out set in stone and say you have to do this. We are going to be open about it. We'll be more than happy to have a discussion about that. So yeah, not to worry about that. If you want to meet it in school, if you want to have a chat on the phone, that will be absolutely fine. And I'm sure Mrs. Tuner as well would be willing to join us for that meeting as well. While we wait for a few more things to come through then, I'll just explain a little bit more about the purple pathway. So what happens at the end of year 9 when pupils start year 10. So during year 9, those pupils on the red pathway, we monitor their academic progress in their languages, their humanities, so history or geography, English and maths. We monitor that carefully at several points throughout the year when they do assessments. And I meet with all of those heads of faculty. I discuss with them, are there any causes for concern? If we feel like a pupil may be in danger of not passing their English or maths, then we may make the decision that it might be better if they join the purple pathway in year 10. Likewise, if we feel like there's in one of their languages or their humanities subjects, if we feel like they're not making sufficient progress in either of those, we don't want to set them up to fail. We're not in the business of making them do a course that they'll get a very low grade in. We may make the decision, say, do you know what? You really are struggling in that subject. We're going to take you out of it and we're going to try and push your maths and English more because you've got a better chance of getting a higher grade in one of those subjects. Towards the end of year 9, usually in the summer term, I'll write home to parents explaining that we've taken the decision to move their child onto the purple pathway. However, if any parent wants to opt out of that or say, no, I'd like them to stay on the red pathway, carry on doing all their subjects, that's absolutely fine. And any pupil likewise can come and speak to us and say, I would rather not drop the subject. We don't force anyone to drop the subject at all. We just give our advice that we think it might be suitable. A few other things change in year 10 for pupils as well. They'll carry on doing 4 hours in maths and English, but you pick up an extra hour of science in year 10 and year 11 because you get 2 GCSEs in science, so that there's a lot more content, so you need that extra hour. That does mean that they go from having 2 hours of core PE to 1 hour in years 10 and year 11. So that's the big change for the red pathway. The purple pathway, as I said, pupils on the purple pathway will do 5, possibly 6 hours of maths or English. They'll do 5 of one and 6 of the other. So those are extra additional lessons that are put on to help them prepare for those exams. And then on the blue pathway as well, in year 10 and year 11, we give extra support in maths and English. So in year 10 and year 11 for blue pathway pupils, they will do 5 hours of maths and 5 hours of English. And again, that's to make sure that they are best prepared as possible to take those 2 key qualifications. In the blue pathway, to make up those extra hours in maths and English, they will go down to 1 hour of Arrow and 1 hour of core PE in year 10 and year 11. So mirroring what happens with all the rest of the pupils in the year group as well. Is there any sort of careers advice on offer for our children so they know what subjects would be best for the career they're currently interested in? Yes. In Arrow lessons, pupils will be discussing options and discussing the careers available. So again, you can see there how our Arrow curriculum, the life skills, they link into what's going on at that point in the pupil's career. So yeah, they will get advice on what the best sort of options may be. We also have a lead practitioner with responsibility for careers, Mr. Powell. He is available every tutor time to offer advice and support to pupils that need it regarding their options. He's usually based in the Opportunities Hub during tutor times. He has a careers desk and any pupil can go up there and speak to him if they need to. Likewise, during those options assemblies that we'll be running over the next 2 weeks, every member of staff delivering presentations will talk about the career opportunities that are available. I'm also available whenever pupils need. So if they want to come find me at lunch or break time, I can normally be found in the atrium or I can be found in my office during tutor times. So I'll be offering that advice and guidance as well. So if there are quite a few different avenues there, but in the first instance, I would just say, get the pupil to talk to their form tutor. The form tutor will be able to give them plenty of advice. And if they're not sure on what advice to give, then they will pass that on to another member of staff who can. So that was that one. Okay. I'll just go through some of the key dates then that have come up. And again, this was all in the video, the pre-recorded video briefing that I sent out yesterday. So We'll put that on our school website as well, so you can have a look at that at some point if you need to. But basically, the options assemblies start next week. They will be remote, so we're not getting pupils to gather together in assembly halls at the moment. We think it's possibly not the wisest thing to do with the current COVID-19 situation. So they will sit in their tutor rooms. We will deliver via webcam, via Microsoft Teams, into their tutor rooms. They will get a presentation. They'll get 2 presentations a day from 2 different subjects, who will be giving advice on what their subjects like, what careers you can go into, what the exams look like, and things like that. We will also, over the next 3 weeks, have those options taster sessions run-ins. So we will have tannoys announced at lunchtimes to let pupils know what subject is being sort of like showcased that day, what room they're in, and pupils can go get their lunch and then head to that room, and they can have a taster session with the teachers as well. The deadline to complete the options form, okay, the online options form, is the 11th of February. Okay, so that's at the end of this half term. So there's no rush on that, but we do need options in by that point. When pupils come back after the half term, a week into that second half term, on Monday the 28th of February is when they'll sit their options assessments. So if they've selected one of those subjects that's particularly challenging, they'll sit a very short assessment, and we'll arrange that during their arrow lessons. We'll mark those, obviously, provide feedback to parents by the 11th of March. And on the 28th of March, so towards the end of this term, we will contact you as parents and carers, informing you what choices your child has received. That isn't, a line drawn in the sand, and no further changes can be made. Of course, common sense will prevail. If you need to have a chat with us about, again, if you've got concerns or they've changed their mind, that is absolutely fine. We can obviously facilitate that. However, by the time they start their courses in year 9, it is the expectation that they stick on the courses that they've selected. So if they are going to make a change, they absolutely need to think about it carefully and make that change this year. Do pupils do work experience in years 10 or 11 anymore? Yes. In year 10, at the end of year 10, pupils still do work experience. Of course, at the moment, the pandemic is making that a little bit challenging, but we are still running year 10 work experience this year, providing everything's sort of suitable with COVID. And certainly, or at least I'd hope, by the time your youngsters reach year 10, we will be running work experience. We have a range of partners in the local area and in London, of people that are companies and employers that are willing to take our pupils for work experience. During those arrow lessons, so another thing we do in arrow, during year 10, we prepare pupils for work experience. We help them find placements. We talk about how you conduct yourself in the workplace and all of those sorts of things. And we also, right at the start of year 10, we host a work experience information evening where we get parents in, we go through the whole process, and you've got pretty much most of the year to sort out that work experience placement. So that still goes on. That is in the last 2 weeks of year 10. So yeah, we still have that, obviously. Do I call the school if I have a couple of questions? Obviously not now, because there's no one here other than myself. But on a normal school day, absolutely feel free to call the school if you have questions on options. However, my advice would be that I'm probably going to be the person you need to speak to, possibly Mrs. Tuner. It's better if you email me, just because during the school day I tend to be teaching lessons and things like that, so I'm not immediately available on the phone. But if you want to email me and ask for a phone call, that's absolutely fine. So yeah, the first port of call would be to email me. You will find my email address on the school website, just under Mr. Wright's. Is year 8 parents evening virtual? At the moment, we plan to go ahead with parents evening in person. Of course, we're going to wait for some of the announcements that the Secretary of State for Education is going to make towards the end of the month. We're thinking that hopefully, if Omicron, the Omicron variant is dying down and things like that, we should be able to go ahead with that being in person. It's such a crucial parents' evening because obviously you want to discuss options with all these different teachers that we really do hope we can go ahead with that. I'll be at that parents' evening as well. and I'll probably have a stall where you can just talk to me about options in general. I don't have a year 8 class, so I'll be available all night for that. If it does transpire that we have to do it remotely, and that could happen, then we will arrange for them to be virtual. You'll still be able to meet with all of the teachers that you need to, and I will make sure that myself and any of the teachers of subjects that your children haven't studied before are also available to make appointments with. So if you want to speak to the psychology teacher, for example, I'll make sure that she's available to speak with you. So it's not ideal, but if that does happen, we will have a contingency. You will be able to speak to any member of staff that you need to. Is there career advice? So I think I had a chat about that a little bit ago. Yes, there is careers advice. Mr. Powell, our careers lead, is available in the Opportunities Hub during tutor times and during Arrow lessons. Pupils get careers advice and how options can affect careers as well. And during the taster session, during the assemblies we run, we will talk about the career prospects of every option choice. One thing I will say about careers, is it important to consider careers at this point? Yes, it is. There are no real options you can pick at GCSE that will really affect, in a detrimental way, will affect career choices later on. So if pupils change their mind when they're 14, 15, 16, and they want to pursue a different course, that will still be open to them. They'll still be able to go on to sixth form or college and pretty much take any courses they want. I've had plenty of examples before of pupils that haven't studied psychology at GCSE, but have decided to pick up at A-level. I've had pupils that didn't do history at GCSE and have decided to pick it up at A-level. You can still do that. Universities, colleges, work placements, they're quite keen for pupils to have their pass in maths and English, but other than that at GCSE, they don't really mind what qualifications you have as long as you have a broad range, and of course as long as your grades are good. So don't worry too much about the careers aspect. Of course it's important to start thinking about it, but nothing will be closed off because of these options choices. It's a different story, and in a few years' time we'll be having that conversation when we discuss post-16 options. Okay, so when we're discussing whether they're going to go to a sixth form, a college, or a work, or apprenticeship, that does have an impact, obviously, on their career choices. At this stage, my advice would be pick a broad range. Don't select subjects that are very similar. Try and show that you've got ability over a range of different skills and a range of different subjects. That's what employers will want to see, that pupils can study a range of different skills. So that's probably the best thing to do at this point. So don't worry too much, but we will, of course, provide that careers advice. And we said I disagree with that. It will have an impact. Well, possibly. The one thing I would say is it might have an impact in the sense that you may be a little bit behind if you go onto a course at A level or a level 3 qualification that you haven't studied at GCSE, but there are no requirements to study a certain subject at GCSE in order to do it later on. Some institutions will prefer it. So, for example, one of our schools that takes a lot of our pupils in sixth form, Appleton, they will often say, well, we would like you to have, for example, a grade 6 in history to do A-level history. So that's quite important to consider. But my point being that if you are very keen to have a change in the subjects you do, there would be an institution locally that would accept you, whether it was a college or something like that. We've got another question here. Do the students get to choose infotech and computer science? Infotech or IT, that is our Creative iMedia IT course, which we talked about earlier on. So that is the IT course that is available. That is the most accessible course available for our pupils. It's the course that our pupils do best on, those that are interested in IT, and it's the one that pupils tend to take if they want to then take a further qualification in college or sixth form in IT, or indeed an apprenticeship. So that's the course we offer. As I said a minute ago, we're not currently planning to offer computer science next year due to constraints of the timetable. However, if there's a strong enough demand for it, then we will of course consider it, and we'll try and adapt our timetables and our curriculum to meet that. If you are really keen on computer science, do email us and let us know. However, I will advise that lots of pupils opt for computer science and then are very surprised at the course. It's highly mathematical, it's very challenging, It's not impossible to do. Of course, our pupils can do it, but it is a very difficult subject. And I've had plenty of pupils before who have selected it thinking it's going to be one thing, and actually it's a lot more written work than people think, and it's a lot more traditional exam papers and things like that. So just be warned that the reason we offer the Creative iMedia course is because the majority of our pupils say, actually, this is the more accessible course for me. This is the one I'm much more likely to get a good grade in. We're not in the business of setting up pupils on certain subjects where, you know, they're really going to struggle. So yeah, that's the answer on that one. But we are, as I said, we are willing to sort of have a chat about that if you want to email us. Do they still have construction as an option? Yes. So it's called Constructing the Built Environment, but it's construction just as you know it. So that is over in our construction building. So you learn things like well, I don't know if they do bricklaying anymore, but there'll be some sort of construction work. I think it's normally bricklaying and those sorts of practical skills. They get you ready to take your CSCS card, which is like a sort of health and safety card you need if you're going to work in construction. It's a really popular course. A few years ago, we had a small number of pupils that were allowed to do it. We're very lucky now. Now we can have class sizes of up to about 20. So a lot more of our pupils are now deciding to study construction and hair and beauty, actually. And we think that's great. If that's the route you want to go down, it's a great route to get you ready for an apprenticeship in something to do with construction. If doing GCSE music, can they take their gradings at school? Well, interestingly enough, the course that we offer in music performance actually is the grading system. So it's offered through Trinity Music. So if you know about peripatetic music lessons, you get your grade 3, 4, 5 piano and what have you. The qualification pupils will get in school through that qualification is the grading. So whether they do drums or vocals or piano or violin or whatever they do, that's the course they will study as part of music performance. And off the top of my head, I believe they aim to get a grade 7. I think you can get lower grades than that. Don't quote me on that. I believe that's what they do. But yeah, those traditional music grades, that is the music performance course. What are the options we're allowed to pick? I won't go through them all again, but if you look at the video, the video we made yesterday, it goes through all of them. And also you will get your options booklet on Monday that will give you all of the options available, and you'll get a link to the options form where you can see all your options. Okay, so you'll get all that information. Will parents be able to watch the subject presentations by teachers? No, would be the answer to that. The reason being, it's during school hours. There are certain sort of restrictions on, because this is happening in classrooms with pupils and things like that during the school day. It's just like a normal lesson. We can't record lessons in school and allow people external to school to watch them. So unfortunately not. However, having said that, I'm pretty confident that if you asked for a PDF version of the presentation to be sent to you and to have a chat with one of those teachers, they'd be more than happy to do that. So I'm sure they'd be happy to send you the presentation. Unfortunately, we can't have external people join live because it's to do with the security of our network, essentially, that it's only pupils and teachers that can get onto that network. What option does film studies go on? I think, Ronnie, what you mean by that is what option subjects can you go on to? So film studies, if you do decide to do that course, you can go on to do certain apprenticeships to do with film and media. You can go on to do, you can do a degree, you can do a university, you can go to university and study film studies. Lots of people ask about that course, what's it like? It's a little bit like English, actually. The only difference is rather than reading a book and writing about the book, you watch a film and you write about that. And there are creative elements as well. You don't do filmmaking. It's not a lot of running around and filming movies. It's more about analysing films, okay? And I think as well, you write a script for a film, I believe. I'm right in saying. But it's quite a cool course. Our pupils really enjoy it. And it's definitely one that you can go on to study after GCSE as well. So it's well worth doing. In terms of I'll just, we've only got a few minutes left, but I'll just talk about the options assessments just very briefly. If you're wondering what those are, basically in those subjects that I listed, philosophy, psychology, sociology, PE, citizenship and business studies, we have made a very short assessment where pupils will answer a few exam questions that are similar to the sorts of exam questions they may get during the course. And it's just to see if they feel comfortable doing that and whether we think the course is suitable for them. We'll then quickly mark them. We will then contact you if we feel there are some concerns and advise. But all of our subjects have an alternative equivalent that is more accessible. So some of our pupils that maybe aren't quite right for sociology, they often go on to do health and social care. Some of our pupils that maybe might struggle with business studies, retail business is an excellent alternative. So there are alternatives out there. If there's a certain career pathway you're interested in, we will cater for that. Are there any options for kids that may struggle? When my sister was at Woodlands, she was able to drop science and do a hair course. Do they do anything similar now? We don't. The reason being that we offer a wide range of subjects now. And part of Mr. Wright's vision for the school and what we've been trying to do for the last few years is we want all of our pupils to be resilient. We want all of our pupils to do excellent in all of their subjects. So we're not going to allow people to drop certain subjects that are in the core curriculum, like science, quite late on to pick up other courses. We want everyone to do the full range of core courses that the government have said we should, and we want everyone to do really well in them. Of course, the only exception to that is they can possibly drop one of the humanities or language at the end of year 9, but we don't really do that in any other subjects, okay? And we're not, the right thing to do is to follow through all those subjects right to the end of school, because starting these GCSE courses in year 9, you've got plenty of time to catch up, plenty of time to do it, still be really successful in those courses. So we're not too worried about that. I'm sure you'll be fine. Can we pick the language? The language that you will take if you're on the red pathway will be the language you've studied in year 7 and year 8. The reason being that you need to be able to start the GCSE course, so you need to know a lot of the language already. So you have to pick a language that you've already got quite a lot of experience in. Okay, it doesn't look like too many more questions are coming through. So what I'll do is I'll thank you for coming. I'll quickly run through just the key dates again. So from Monday, you will get that options booklet and you'll get the link to either the red or blue pathway options form. At that point, there will be 2 weeks of options assemblies and 3 weeks of options taster sessions running at lunchtime where your child can experience those different subjects. The deadline to get those options forms back to us online is the 11th of February, the end of this half term. We'll then sit some options assessments on from the 28th of February to the 4th of March. We'll give you some feedback, and then by the 28th of March, we hope that you will know what subjects you're taking. That's a lot of information to take in. I appreciate that it's quite an important decision. You want to get this right. So over the next few weeks, what I would recommend is you can watch this Q&A session again at any point. It will be on our school website. The briefing, the pre-recorded briefing I did yesterday may also be worth a look if you're interested. Have a read of the booklet when it comes home on Monday, and get in touch. If there's anything you're concerned about, you can contact me directly, and I may either answer you myself or I'll pass you on to the relevant member of staff who will be able to give you advice on specific subjects. It's an incredibly exciting time for our pupils. We're very proud of the range of subjects that are now on offer. There are fantastic opportunities for our pupils to take advantage of now. We're offering subjects really that aren't offered anywhere else in the local area. And the really exciting thing about it is, no matter what your background, no matter what you're interested in, no matter what you want to go on to do in the next few years, there should be a course that's available for you. And we're hoping it'll be a very successful next 3 years. So I just need to say thank you for your time. If you do have any further questions, feel free to email me. And over the next few days, I hope to chat to you all more about your options. Okay, take care. Thank you very much.